welcome back to Drawings by Trent YouTube channel. Glad to have you along. Don't forget, if you enjoy what you're hearing, if it's encouraging, educating, or inspiring to you, those you care about, like, share, comment, subscribe. Love to have you along for the journey. Today, we are talking about educating the family and learning together about autism. All right, welcome back. Educating the family and learning together. What did that look like?
You know, Trent, like I said, from early on, we knew something was different. And we couldn't put a name to it, but it was just Trent. That was just Trent. And when they did put a name to it, autism, we didn't know anyone else with autism. So autism equaled Trent, I think, in our minds. And we took some steps to learn more about things. Like the internet, even though it wasn't a huge thing yet, was helpful.
The internet, even though we had dial-up, which if you don't know what dial-up is, be very glad.
But like one of the major struggles was his sleep.
Yeah.
And I went into a chat room.
Which back then
do they still have
was
chat
like,
rooms?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
I guess it was a chat room or a blog or something where I put out the question, how do I get my 4-year-old with autism to sleep? Mm-hmm. And I first got a very hateful response about how dare you consider giving him a drug? And I'm like, he doesn't sleep. He is running circles in our living room at night.
Yeah, we should clarify. Trent not sleeping meant we didn't sleep.
Right, exactly.
So we had a schedule. Every other night, one of us was out on the couch. And how long did that go on? A year or something?
I don't know. But when he was a baby, he didn't nap.
Yeah.
What baby doesn't nap?
Yeah. Yeah. So when we talk about like educating the family, we're all in this together. Like we don't know.
Right. Well, what I was getting at
was figuring it out.
I then got another response from someone who was extremely helpful and had a child a year older than Trent. And she told me about melatonin. And I asked our doctor, if she would think it was okay to use it. And she said, well, it's not regulated. It's not FDA approved, but wink, wink, give it a shot.
We got the doctor response to that.
Right. But she said,
I can't tell you to try it, but
try it.
Yeah.
And it saved our lives.
Oh man.
It probably saved our marriage.
Do you remember it was 9:00 at night. I think we gave it to him. By 9:30, he was asleep.
Oh yeah.
And we were just like, we were like standing in the living room. We were stunned. He's asleep. This is crazy.
We were like, what do we do with ourselves?
And like you got to understand what was going on here. Not only did Trent not sleep, he did sleep sometimes, maybe half or more of the week. He did sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, maybe. But if we got him, like when the sun came up, he was up. Like he woke up as soon as the light was in, as soon as there was any noise, he was awake. And like Andrea said, he didn't nap. But if we would, like if you were going to take the kids to school or go pick them up or something, and we'd put him in the car and drive, like he maybe hadn't slept like for so long, and we put him in the car and we drive to 5 minutes to go pick up the kids at school and come back home. If he fell asleep in the car, even for just a few minutes, that would tack on more hours of him being awake that night. Like instead of getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep that night, he might only get 1.
And there was no moving him when he was asleep, or he'd just wake up.
Yeah, he'd just wake up.
Yeah. And about every few days, he would crash and sleep for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's how he survived. Anyway, back to topic. We searched for things online, some, but we really just treated him like Trent and tried to figure out what was best for him, just for whatever he was dealing with.
Yeah, there are really two parts to that. Like we let him be Trent in part because there was no getting him to do, like if he didn't want to do it, he wasn't going to do it. Like there was no way to force him to do that, was eat or sleep or whatever. But I think the other side of that is we had 2 and then 3 other kids, and so we couldn't just like not do anything. So we had to go to sporting events and school programs and we were in church. I was preaching at the time, so we had these things we had to do. And so Trent just did them with us. Like it just was part of the thing.
I think that our family and friends and people in the schools learned about autism through Trent.
Oh yeah.
Because he was in the community, it was a small community.
Yeah.
In church, so what anybody who knew us knew about autism, it was because of Trent.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure they've all figured that out by now. But we basically learned together.
Yeah. Which really is how you learn, right? I mean, most people are not going to research autism if they don't have somebody in their family or whatever. Like it's just kind of odd. So you just do what needs to be done. All right. I don't want this to be like, this is just our experience. It's not everybody's experience, and it should not reflect on the Autism Society of America or the Autism Society of Kansas. It was just what we experienced at a very difficult time in our lives. So by the time we started going to these meetings, I don't remember, they were once a month maybe or something. Trent was, I don't know, how old was he? We started doing that.
He was probably like 6, 7, 8.
Maybe, or maybe a little younger.
I don't know.
I was trying to think if he was.
TJ wasn't a baby. Like TJ wasn't even a toddler. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe he was a little. Anyway, whatever he wasn't potty trained.
Oh.
By that time.
Well, he potty trained at 6. So
it must have been a little before that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Because I remember that was part of the discussions and questions was about that, I think. I don't know. Maybe our timeline's a little off. It's been a lot of years, people. Like, cut us some slack.
Okay, so say he was 4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah. So, anyways, he was, by that time, he could be very aggressive. Biting, hitting, kicking, punching,
pinching.
Pinching. If you restrained him, like if we tried to help so he wouldn't hurt somebody else in the family, or hurt the person who's trying to keep him from hurting himself or somebody else in the family, he could kick off his shoes and socks while you're like wrestling him on the floor and pinch you with his big and second toe. Like this kid was jujitsu
resourceful
master. Like it was yeah. I mean, at that point, at 4, 5, 6, until he was 12 or 14, man, I'd put him in the octagon with any of those guys, and he literally be like, you'd punch him and he'd just be like, yeah, come on.
He was little, but he was so strong.
Was such a brute. And so we reached out and we found this this Autism Society of America chapter in Kansas that met in Wichita. And so we decided we were going to go. We had no idea what to expect, but we hoped that what we would find there was help. We thought we'd find people whose autistic children were also trying to kill them on a daily, regular basis. It's a little bit of an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like in the moment. Like, he's so strong. And so like we were going there like very hopeful about what we might find, the resources we might find, and all that kind of stuff. So we get there, and one of the things that they did every month when we got together was they went around the room, and every family or every person talked about like what had been going on, what successes or failures or whatever that you'd experienced with your child. And so that was when we really, like that first time we really began to be like, oh, okay, maybe this is not going to be what we expected it to be. So we start listening, and they start going around the table and give us an example of some of the things we heard.
They would say things like, my 12-year-old son was just diagnosed with Asperger's.
Yeah.
And my nanny is having a difficult time getting him to do his homework.
Yeah.
Most of them had children who were diagnosed much later and much higher functioning.
Much higher
than Trent.
functioning. Yeah.
We could not relate.
Yeah. The biggest issue probably that we heard from other families was maybe it was the potty training thing or whatever, but nobody else's kid was trying to hurt them or attack them or.
Right. I remember we were like last in line.
Yeah, last in line.
And we were just like,
We didn't know what to say.
We don't belong here.
Yeah. Felt completely out of place and
But we did go a few times.
Yeah.
Hoping that maybe another family would come that could relate to us. I mean, we were just really pretty desperate for somebody who was sharing the struggle.
Yeah.
Not that we wanted anybody else to go through that, but we knew there had to be people out there.
And I think one of probably the reason that we went back as often as we did, which again was less than 6 times probably, was because we got to leave our kid with autism.
Well, and our other children loved it.
Yeah.
They met at Heartspring. They babysat them in the sensory room that was full of all kinds of fun swings and balls and all this stuff. And our other kids would be like, when do we get to go back there and play in that room?
But it meant that we got like 45 minutes or an hour or whatever where Trent was taken care of in a room by somebody who was volunteering. And I think it was like maybe Heartspring staff. I don't remember who did it, but
it seemed like it was somebody who was educated to do that.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah. But that was like a break we didn't often get. So that was pretty nice. Anyway.
So as far as education and support, we didn't find it there.
Did not find it there and didn't keep going.
I would imagine that if the Autism Society of Kansas still has meetings like that, it would look very different today.
Probably.
Because working in the schools, it's so much more prominent.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more kids.
Right.
And with social media and everything, people have the support that we didn't have. Mm-hmm. And they're educated a whole lot more than we were, for sure. But so we kind of just learned together.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's been really cool for us in being on social media and the podcast and hopefully we experience the same thing here with the YouTube stuff is the number of people, like the number of individuals with autism is growing so much more prevalent now than it was when Trent was diagnosed. But we get lots of people who comment that they have a family member or a friend whose kid was diagnosed, and they're coming to our channels and watching Trent, watching the family interact and stuff, so that they can be a support and a resource to their friend or family member. Mm-hmm. And that is just really cool for us because we felt like we didn't have any of that.
Right. We're happy.
Was young.
We're happy to give people the support that we wish we had.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talk about that educating the family, learning together. It really was that we would learn something, we'd share it with other members of the family. We've been very close to Andrea's parents, like physically close to Andrea's parents for most of our married life, and she has an older brother and a younger brother, and so our kids have been around them and been around their kids. There have been challenging things that we've experienced through that. Her parents were great with Trent and, wanted to help, weren't afraid to get in there until he got really big and was violent. And then we were afraid.
Or when he was little and there were times that he was really struggling.
Yeah.
Because there were some times that were really, really tough that
Yeah.
we wouldn't
let him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, dealing with like other family members and having to explain, you do a lot of explaining when you have a kid with autism, about why he does the things he does. Why isn't he, in our case, like his siblings and the things that they're doing, and things that he's not doing, those milestone things, and even just, the family gets together for something and Trent's off in a corner somewhere. Like, that's not normal. Where is he? What's going on? So there really is like this learning curve. We got to have grace for everybody. And we were used to it because we were with him all the time. And there he is.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, you gonna come say hi?
Hi.
Well, you heard him anyway. Oh yeah, there's just. Yeah, we just learn about it and try to figure it out. And he, in a lot of ways, was our teacher.
Hey, I am Tristan. I'm Trent's older sister. Did I want to learn about autism growing up? I feel like maybe I just didn't know what there was to learn. I feel like I just had this like motherly instinct toward him, I guess. Maybe that's just like innately within me, but I've always felt like sister bear kind of, because like he can't stand up for himself, and so I wanted to be that for him. And I felt like I've always with Trent kind of felt like I know like all there is to know about him. I mean, I know that's not true, but like I feel like maybe that's how a mother feels like to their kids, especially growing up, like the most about your kids. And I kind of feel like I've felt that way toward Trent, especially growing up. I didn't really know there was more to learn about autism in general until I started working at Heartspring. Heartspring helps kids who are neurodivergent, and so I met a lot of different types of people there. And autism shows up differently in everybody, which I know now, but I don't think I fully understood then. Like, I knew that some kids were different, but I didn't really understand like what all that meant, I guess. So I feel like maybe like I wanted to be in the autism world. Like, I wanted to do that for a job. I had always wanted to work at Heartspring when Trent went to school there. So I kind of like grew up going there with him for various reasons, whether it was like a choir concert that he had, or like a fundraiser, or like sometimes I would go with my dad to take him to school or pick him up. Anything like that. If there was like they have like a family weekend, and I remember going to that. But as far as like learning more about autism in general, I don't think that was sparked until I had realized like how vast the autism world is, or like how different each person is from each other. And so I feel like that kind of sparked this like education for autism in general, and not just like Trent, like not just how Trent functions, but autism in general. And I've always like wanted everyone to be included, and I grew up kind of being that I was that person at the dance who would like go to all the people in the chairs, even if I like wasn't good friends with them. I would and sometimes I was good friends with them, but I would like go over there and dance with them and try to get them up and like onto the dance floor and like have a good time because I wanted everyone to have fun and like be included. And so I feel like that transferred over when I found out more about autism in general, and I wanted to like keep learning. And I did think I had a responsibility to educate people, especially about Trent, because you know, I grew up going to the grocery store and like getting dirty looks from people walking by because Trent was like making a loud noise, or like at a quiet place somewhere, maybe like a school concert or something, or like an event. If Trent was making noises or like started to get upset or aggressive, people would stare and they would look and they would point and laugh. And I got very, very angry at that. And I feel like a part of me is like, if you only knew what was going on for him, like he has so many different struggles that you like totally don't understand, and if you just got a glimpse of like why he is the way that he is, or why, like if you got a glimpse of how hard that thing is for him, or just like living in this world can be for him, then you wouldn't be making fun of him, or you wouldn't be laughing. And I know now, unfortunately, some people don't care, and they're gonna laugh and they're gonna make fun of him or other people just because they can, and they're an easy target. But in my ideal world, people have a lot more understanding and a lot more grace for that, a lot more compassion for people who are different than them, because Trent didn't choose this life. And if I can understand more about him and educate other people, I'm gonna do it, and I want to do it.
Can you draw a cat and a horse?
Yeah, and a horse. What color is your cat, Linda?
Black.
That's a really good horse.
That is.
What a good cat. Good Will you sign it for Linda? Okay.
Oh, thank you, Trent.
Do you want to give it to her?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Drawings by Trent YouTube. Thanks for being here. And again, if you have been inspired, educated, or encouraged by this episode and what we've had to share, we'd love to have you like, follow, share, subscribe, comment, whatever. Love your feedback. Love to help in any way that we can. And so next time we'll be talking about why and when did we decide to have another child after Trent. Anyway, we'll see you then.
Goodbye.